So, hi. Um, you guys have probably already seen my AI videos. Well, I can assure you this is not an AI video. This is real. This is really me. As you can see, the Sora AI logo is not appearing on there, watermark or whatever. So, I decided to start making content. I mean, it's only really for myself. I can get it out there if people watch it and they like it, that's fine. If not, hey, you found some random guy on the internet rambling about different stuff. One thing that I do want to talk about is my reasons for doing, an IRL, in person, no AI video, is because, well, I saw how fun and kind of funny my AI persona was, and I'm like, dang, I wish I could be like that, but not really like that most of the time, mostly serious, but I just wanted to try it out. I'm usually not quick-witted. I probably need a script every time I talk, otherwise I ramble. Right now there is no script, so I'm gonna ramble. And I just want to practice talking and practice releasing content, I guess. So there is one thing I do want to talk about, and it's the reason I started doing it, and I do want to talk about AI, uses of AI. I know it's a very controversial topic, especially for creators. A lot of them don't like AI, and the ones that do use AI, it's a lot of people think it's mostly schlop, and that they do it to get easy money. I mean, I'm telling you, I've made plenty of AI videos and they're not getting money, so I do it for fun. I have a real job, so not a big personality. Thank you to the 2 people who always cheer me on in the comments. You guys are great. I know it's more than 2, but still. So I find AI creations of videos and music and whatnot pretty interesting, because basically, you just input a bunch of stuff. You can, a prompt, text prompt, or maybe, you tell the thing, hey, I want a song about a dog grilling cheeseburgers, but the genre has to be death metal. And surprisingly, AI will do it. Whoever creates the AI model, inputs a bunch of information there, and then, bada bing, bada boom, something comes out. And then even then, the users, they add input to the machine, so the machine is actually learning, even though it's already kind of has an algorithm in the background. It's really cool. But I do want to mention, how dangerous it is, because as fun as it is, and some of the creations that come out are super fantastic. I mean, I gotta say, sometimes I'm like, wow, I never even thought I could probably make something like this. One of the things I do want to talk about is how lazy it can make you. And specifically with me, making these videos, I don't really like pictures or videos of myself normally, so this is a big step for me. But when I made that AI content, I was like, oh man, that's so cool. Why am I so afraid? I should just go on the camera and just start blabbering. That's it. It's really easy. Really easy. But, it takes effort. It takes a lot of effort, not just emotionally, but, sometimes if you want to make something funny like that, you have to come up with jokes, and you have to blah, blah, blah. Now, the AI does it like this, but for me, it takes time. So, yeah, AI can make you lazy. It can stop you from doing more. Because sometimes, the AI doesn't always do what you want. It does what it that's its own thing. You kind of have to compromise with it, unless you're an expert and you know how to modify things. Like people who use Midjourney or something like that. I am not an expert in AI. I am not a computer scientist. I'm not a coder, a programmer, whatnot. So I don't have that advantage. So I do what I can with what I'm given. And what came out was this story that went from me walking in the woods, and then encountering a raccoon that I become friends with, and then eventually I get captured by a clown cult. And now I'm doing a clown cult story, which I kind of have all the elements there, but it's not coming out too well because it's kind of difficult to get AI to do a lot of stuff. It'd be better if I sat down and wrote a script and hired actors or acted all of the stuff myself, but that costs money. And as much of a hobby as it is, I don't have the means yet or the time. Also, it'd be kind of freaky to go by yourself in the middle of the woods and start filming yourself. And you get attacked by a mountain lion. Not that there's any around here that I know of. Anywho, that's pretty interesting. It makes, but AI makes you lazy. So it on the one hand, it can help you do things that you can't do right now at this moment, but at the same time, it can make you lazy. And so that's why I'm taking the effort to make an actual video about it. Now, I do want to say that, in my opinion, I get it. People want to create something, by hand, and it takes effort and takes time. And I can see that when AI does something like lickety split, you do get angry and you do get upset because, you took so much time and effort to create something by your hand, and then all of a sudden you're shown up by a computer. And it took it probably 2 to 3 minutes tops, depending on how big the prompt is. Probably longer than that. It's frustrating because it's like you go to school, you make all the effort to get a B+, and then suddenly the student with puts in no effort, it's they get an A+, and then standing ovation. That it makes you mad. So I can understand that. However, I will say that I do lean more on the side of keeping AI as a tool. So remember there was this video I watched, Mortimer Adler. It was a documentary they were doing with him. He was talking about his at the time new book on Plato, where he's trying to get, not Plato, Aristotle, where he's trying to get people to read on Aristotle and how Aristotle's ideas do apply to the modern day, which in those days was the 70s and the 80s. And one of the things he talks about, which I found rather fascinating, was the automation of things. So, Henry Ford helped, create, the modern factories by, modernizing how things are made, which is on a conveyor belt, basically, boom, 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 manufacturing line. And, the more we've continued as humans throughout the past century, the more we've automized things to the point where, right now you can just check out your groceries, or even better, you can order your groceries and then have them delivered to you by a drone, which, I've never seen that happen, but I know it happens. So everything becomes automatic now. And what's funny is that Mortimer Adler actually argues the idea that Aristotle would have liked seeing that. And he specifically talks about how in Greece, they had agricultural areas, agrarian areas. And so having to live in and day out, working in the fields and all that, well, must have been hard. And then, you're in your old age. There is no retirement plan, and, unless you're rich, you can't really do much about it. And so automation seemed perfect. I mean, he was already thinking of robots way before we were making them. Well, even then, automatons are a great thing, and I'm pretty sure that existed probably before as an idea at the very least, if not an invention. So, leaving things to the other thing, but why? Why was he asking for that? Because he said, well, that leaves people to pursue leisure. I usually say leisure, but I think it's supposed to be pronounced leisure. Anyway, to leave people to, to have more leisure. Now, leisure does not mean like, okay, you just lay around and are lazy and, grow fat and stuff like that. No, leisure means putting time aside for, I guess, self-improvement of yourself. Joseph Pieper actually gives a better description, but basically what Aristotle is trying to say is like, automize things, or at the very least pursues the idea of automation, so that we have more time for the more important things. Which, for some people it can be their health, which would be very important. Their family. I know parents would love that. Anything pretty much. Although, Aristotle's talking more about, the pursuit of wisdom and the pursuit of happiness in those regards, which, all falls in that category. The problem, and I'm pretty sure he saw the idea. I would need to read more into it. But the problem I see with that argument, and, especially Mortimer Adler's view of it, is that, and he addressed it too, is that, what about, jobs? What about work? How do we get money and all that? And, we haven't come to that point where, we can, we can stop working on things like, growing crops and all that, because, not just because we need all of that, but it always needs a human touch to certain things. However, I do see where he's coming from, and I do know that and especially since the Reformation in the 1500s, we've had a tougher work life, the work week. I know some European countries have it easier than we do, but we work anywhere between 5 to 7 days a week, many hours, and it's insane. I mean, Japan has it worse, and apparently it's going to get worse for the work week. So my point being that I do lean on the side of we need AI for the automation of certain things, but in terms of creativity, we do need to limit it, the use of it, because I think creativity is something that's necessary in every area, not just in art and music and all that, but even in things like finance and politics and construction especially. I mean, architects need to be creative somehow, and construction people also need to be creative with their methods. Having AI to just do all of that for us, we can become lazy, and we have become lazy in a lot of things. We always want things for the for efficiency and sake, and so that we can get maximum dollar for everything. That's one of the things I always think, we're hypocrite, and I do mention we in general, that we're hypocrites about. We argue that Sorry, I'm trying to get my train of thought again. We argue that work, that now things are too expensive and whatnot, and that companies cut costs just so we can just so that they can get profit. Like, but we do that too. We do that too, because oh yeah, we hate it. We hate it when we sell something and a little something called devaluation exists. So we bought our car like at 30 something thousand, and then like we put in $8,000 to $10,000 of work in it, and then when we sell it, we have to sell it at much less than we bought it and much less than we put in it, even though we do fight with it. But then anyway, that's a little aside. That's a controversial opinion. But anyway, point being that AI, I don't think it's a bad thing. It depends on how we're using it, and it depends for what we're using it. And if it's obviously I'm not just talking about morally bad things, but talking about in terms of us as human beings. We can't just be lazy. We can't just be lazy. We need to get up and put in an effort, because you feel more fulfilled. Because trust me, and I've had this done before, where at one point I didn't have to really work or do anything. You get bored and you want to do something about it, and you want to feel fulfilled. But yeah, anyway, this is my first attempt. It's a little long, so thank you, and I hope you endured my 17 minutes of rambling.